Oh, hello everyone. Welcome to episode 18 of Conscious Conversations in Parenting. I am Angie. I'm the creator of Journey to Soul, and I'm here with my beautiful sisters, Natalie and Julie. And literally real time in my very human nature. Just before we started recording, I had another one of these dips down. I'm going through a big life change, and I'm literally living it. And here I am, and I've been able to center myself. And I just wanted to say, I'm so grateful that I can do that. I'm so grateful that I can still show up this way, that I can still, I think about the old version of me. I don't know why, but this wants to be said. So I think about the old version of me that would try to just back out of this, and nope, I can't do this. I'm sorry, guys, whatever. And then I would go into a shame spiral after I do that, right? And so this is us breaking patterns right now. And so, Natalie and Julie, we were about to do this, and I glimpsed a message that creates another roadblock in everything I'm going through right now. And I felt it move through my body really fast and got really emotional. And I did what I needed to do. They held the space for me. I did what I needed to do. And I didn't just come back and do it. I came back and said, okay, I need to center myself, right? And I do all the things I need to do to connect to remove the energetic ties, whatever cords, right? Whatever it is, so that I can move forward. And I'm just having a moment right now of gratitude that I can do that, and I can show up, and I can tell you about this, and I can tell you that you can do it too. And if you're not there, it's okay. And that's what I do. So that's going to be my introduction to who I am. I am an overwhelmed mom right now to going through a big life change, and I think we all can relate to that. And I'm having a hard moment a few moments ago, and now I feel really really held and really loved and really safe, and I'm still showing up, and that's my intention always. And so I get to celebrate that right now. So, Natalie, I'll let you introduce yourself.
That was so beautiful. Thank you, Angie. And thank you for being so authentic. Uh, that's one of the things I love most about you. So guys, my name's Natalie. I'm, am I? No, I'm awesome. I'm
Yes, you
an
are.
intuitive writer. I guess I'm in the zone. I guess that's how I would describe myself right now. I just love these conversations, and there's always something unexpected and beautiful that comes out of these conversations, which is why I love showing up here with you guys and just doing our thing, right? So
Yeah,
that's me.
beautiful. I'm loving these introductions today. And just so you guys know, Julie's having some tech issues with her internet, so we get to see her lovely image here and hear her beautiful voice. Go ahead, Julie.
Hello, everyone. Julie here, mother of two boys, 11 and 13. And who am I? Great question. I am a person who listens to my heart and soul and tries to lead with love as often as possible and be conscious and aware in as many now moments as possible in each day, because that is so empowering for us to remember that we always have a choice. And I absolutely adore having these conscious conversations because it always brings up new information, um, wonderful information to revisit, and helps to expand our mind and connect and learn from one another. So I adore being here,
Yeah.
and I adore both of you.
Thank you, Julie. And I haven't even introduced today's topic. Um, today, I love what we're talking about today. So we're going to be talking about illness, sickness in the household, and when somebody is sick. And how do we move through this as parents? There's this reflex to like care for or take away illness or sickness from especially our little ones, right? And how can we be in presence instead of fear? because I've been moving through this. We have all been sick in this house, and we are living in my, my in-laws' basement. Everybody has been sick since I came back home from Nova Scotia, and the kids didn't go to school all last week. And so everyone's moving through this, and I've been observing in myself and around me how a lot of decisions in care are rooted in fear.
Mm.
And then I started getting curious. What if they were, I love how Natalie said it. I don't think I said it so gracefully, but what about in presence? What about if you were to move through and make decisions in presence? How would it look different, do you think, in sickness and illness? So I'm asking.
Yeah, I absolutely. Oh, sorry. Did you go ahead, Natalie, if you had something to say?
No, go ahead, Julie.
Okay. I absolutely love this topic. And when you brought it up, of course, it got me thinking and reflecting on my own life. And when the children were young, how quickly it could go to fear when they were ill, like all of the, oh my goodness, like I remember the fear of just SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome. Like I used to sleep with my hand right there just in case, like there can be so much fear around sickness and illness. And really it was when I started looking into more natural homeopathic um, and actually essential oils were a huge one that really helped me to empower myself in these situations. um, but I remember the fear so clearly, and I always had a big fear of giving my children medication. So it was always like, should I be giving them the medication or shouldn't I? Because I do feel that that can be very fear driven. We want to do what's best for our children always. Um, but we don't always necessarily know what's best. Recently, this is such a confusing topic, it seems like, because even recently with the vaccines for school, Stephen got the papers home that he needs the vaccines to, like, a specific one to be able to continue going to school. And that just brought up so much fear in me, of fear of giving them the vaccine, fear of not giving them the vaccine. So I think and really important to go within and start questioning what feels best for ourselves, what feels best for our heart. Like there's no one size fits all cookie cutter. It's going to be perfect if you do it this way. It's really just like always about going in and asking ourselves what we can do and stepping away from that fear, because that was what was really driving me, and my mind going back and forth was just fear of, what if I do give him the vaccine, what if I don't give him the vaccine? you know
Right.
so it can take a lot to really go within and start making empowered decisions, big decisions like that sometimes, but sometimes it's more simple. And I found a lot of remembering how our bodies are meant to heal themselves and how moving these things through are important for our bodies. Like we're getting rid of things. So even when my children had fevers and stuff, I would allow them to feel that and move through it, because I was more afraid of what was in the Tylenol than
Then
than
what
what
the
would happen if I didn't. So, trying to make them comfortable. Um, yeah, it's such a big topic. There's so much in there.
it is.
Mhm.
I think you point right to the presence. Like, um, when you're talking about going within, we don't always know what's best, but you go within. That's the importance of presence, because it's in the present moment, because no present moment's the same.
Right.
So it's in the present moment that you find your solution in that moment within.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Natalie, you had something to share as well.
Yeah. So for me, when I was thinking about this topic earlier today, it was like, what can we do when it's sickness, but towards someone else? Like someone else is sick, and then we get that fear from someone else having that experience. And also talking about like when it's you that's sick, right? Because sometimes that can bring up a lot of fear too. Um, but yeah, for me, I mean, there's one particular experience that it happened a few months ago, and I realized like I was just feeling again, my body wasn't feeling super great, right? Probably like a kind of like a 50%. And then I noticed myself wanting to move away from that pain, that discomfort, right? Like your body is sick. Like it's not going to be like, you're not going to be, jumping on a trampoline or anything, right? But I noticed that I wanted to move away from it. Like I wanted to distract myself, right? And I'm like, no, I'm just going to be present with just this like physical sensation. And because that was the opposite of what I know would normally do, right? So, like you said, Angie, I got curious about it. Okay, I'm noticing this pattern because our lives are all patterns, right? But the key is to notice as many of them as possible in different situations. So, like sickness, right? So, when I just became present with that sensation, it was like super uncomfortable. I'm like, I don't want to do this. But I told myself, I'm like, you know what? I've gone through this before. I know that at the other end of that, like, huge, like, discomfort area is something really beautiful, right? So I was still, it's not like I was still feeling the bodily sensations that I would, like, kind of that pain, that discomfort. If I would have just been like moaning and groaning and bitching about it and trying to distract myself from it, I still felt that, but I knew the outcome was going to be so much more positive because I was present with it and it was uncomfortable as F. And when things are uncomfortable as F and you stick with it and you're as present as you can, then you know the outcome's going to be way better, right?
Yes.
And that's the whole way to like really shift your way of like viewing the world, you know?
Yeah. Oh, that's so great. Yeah. And one of the reasons why I wanted to bring up this topic, and you kind of touched on it there, Natalie, is the patterns. Like this is why we do conscious conversations, right? Julie mentioned this too in her intro. Like we do this because we want to be as conscious as possible in as many experiences as possible. And that's why I thought, are we exploring it here? Do we realize we have patterns here too when we're ill? And I love that you separated it as self and others. Fear comes up in different ways when it's ourself and when it's somebody else. There's different
Yeah,
discomforts that happen, right? And that's what I've been
totally.
noticing because everybody's been sick in this house. Everybody. And I've literally just been observing my own reactions and other people's reactions to my children being sick and the discomfort that it's
Mm,
rising up in people. My children were
yeah.
at a friend's house last night and they've been sick, but I've been going through this for a week and it's okay. I'm calm about it. I'm really not in a lot of fear about it. And I take actions though. I did take my one daughter to the doctors, right? On the one day because I was like, okay, fear is starting to enter a little, and so I took some action. But it was interesting the response that it evoked in the friend because she had my child and it created a lot of discomfort for her, right? And I was like, oh, so interesting.
Mm,
And I just think there's a lot to unpack there. Like you're not wrong, Julie. There's so much in this. There's so much in this. And that's what I love doing. I love disrupting these patterns and getting
yeah.
eyes on it, getting awareness and energy on it.
Yes.
There is
Yeah.
so much. And it is, our power is always in the present moment. So when we're in those moments, what can we do now um, that will be beneficial rather than just thinking about the fear and Googling all the horrible things that can happen? So my experience with my children and myself has really been finding solutions in the present moment. So, I'm just being brought back to when they were very young, and I would call the telehealth right?
Yeah.
I found that very, very empowering because I was talking to a professional and they could let me know, do I need to, run and get them help, or can I comfort them at home? And there was never a time where I really had to go get them immediate help, thankfully, which really, that was very empowering to me in the moment. Um, and then when it came to myself, um, especially, as when they were younger too, if I couldn't get up out of bed and I was feeling so ill, it could be scary about taking care of my children, but also it really empowered me to take care of myself because I wanted to be able to get back up and care for them. So things that came into play were, my food and my drink, making sure I was nourishing my body instead of giving it toxic food. um, Essential oils, meditation and affirmations. Louise Hay affirmations are so empowering when it comes to illness. Heal your body affirmations. So the ways that I would empower myself would be I would get my crystals, I would get my oils, I would get my Louise Hay affirmations. I would lay down and I would repeat them. I would focus on the discomfort, like you said, rather than running away from it. And I would send it healing energy, and I would envision my cells being in perfect health, sending them white light. I would ask for angels. I've gone through kidney stones for some years, and, all of these supports have been so beneficial and empowering rather than through fear. Um, and that also sets the example for my children that we do have power to care for ourselves and love ourselves in these times rather than make decisions out of fear. Um, so there was one other thing that just popped into my head and it popped right back out, but it will come back
I
if it's
wanted to
meant to.
I wanted to point to I love that you brought up Louise Hay, right? And I think it's a really important thing to talk about here is that sickness and illness, right? Maybe we know, maybe we don't know whoever's listening to this, but it it exists energetically first before it's a
Mhm.
physical manifestation, whether that's you're vomiting, you have a headache, whether your body is aching, right? Whether you have a cough, right? That won't let up. Whatever it is, right? There is an energetic thing there's an energy before it gets to that physical manifestation. And I think it's
Yeah.
really important because our world does not acknowledge that energetic and it's
Mm,
95% of it. The coughing and the throwing up is only 5% of what's actually going on. And isn't it interesting that we've created an entire industry around that 5%, that physical manifestation, right?
yeah.
And so I think it's really important to understand that because when we understand that, we become empowered. Now we can make choices to shift energy and we can make choices on how we teach our children what's going on with them. Right? So I have very much been having conversations, especially with my littlest one, because she's been the illest of the two children. I've been laying with her while she's feeling just horrible. And I lay with her and I just remind her, I'm like, this really sucks, honey. I know. I'm like, but your body's incredible. Like your body's taking care of yourself, and
Mm.
you can imagine green light coming into your body. Just imagine green light coming into your body. You can ask angels to help you, and I'll tell her that Julie's praying with the angels for you. I'm praying with the angels for you. You can do it too. You can help yourself. And it's really interesting because I'm observing her saying it. Like I'm observing her coming up to me, one day, one moment in the day and being like, "Mommy, my body's doing a really good job, I think, because I feel good right
Oh,
now." You know? And it's like, "My body's doing a really good job." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, it is. You should stop and say thank you to your body," right? And it's like, "Thank you." And she still feels crappy, guys. Like, this is what I'm getting at, right? This is where presence is so important because we could focus on fear and our, like, guilt, right? Because that's something that happens, I think, to moms. We
mhm.
feel guilty. We're not doing enough. because you're in that uncertainty. Julie, I wrote that down because I thought that was really important. Do I give my child the medication or I don't want to give them the medication? Like there's this battle that happens when your child's sick because you never know if you're doing the right thing because it's
Yeah.
confusing. It goes against what your heart tells you, what they tell you
Yes.
should do, right? And so there's this constant uncertainty happening. And I think I forget where I was going with that point. Shoot. But anyway, my point was, do you see how you can change the dialogue while your child's sick, right? Or while you're sick? You can change the dialogue and it helps. I'm watching my daughter say these things, you know. I'm watching her say these things and I'm watching her still live her joy. Like when she smiles at me, even though she's sick, before, I'd just be like, "Oh my gosh, she's still so cute when she's sick." Instead of doing that, what I'm doing when she smiles is I go, "Look at your joy coming through even though you feel so awful." And she just smiles at
Mm.
me. And like,
Yeah.
it makes me so happy. And I tell her like, "See, don't lose that joy. Even when things are hard, you can still have joy."
That's so beautiful and empowering. Thank you so much for sharing that. I absolutely adore that. So
Welcome.
empowering for her.
Yeah. I think something I want to bring up is like focusing a bit more on when it's your child that's sick, right? And all the fear that comes up within yourself as a parent. Remember what fear is, right? Fear is just ego. Like fear is just your thoughts messing with you. So when we're in these situations that our mind's like, oh yeah, like I can ensnare Natalie, right? Like I can make her think like all sorts of like whacked out shit or stuff, right? So always like that's why like awareness is so important. Just be aware of that. Don't judge it, but be like, oh man, like because this happened to me the other night. I was awake for like half the night because just like I just couldn't turn my brain off, right? And that's what happens when our kids are sick. So I'm just like, okay, I am aware of the fact that my thoughts just won't shut up, right? And so maybe when you're caring for your child and stuff, like just be aware of like this feels really uncomfortable and I am not clear. I don't know what to do, but just be aware of it because again, that's just like a slightly different choice. Like how Julie was saying earlier, like realizing that we have different choices. Even if maybe they don't look perfect, right? Because you're like, oh, being perfect, like how's that gonna help? You know, they're throwing up in the, you know, there's no
Uh,
bucket or something. Just be present in that like ugh, right? Like I don't know what the f to do,
yeah.
right?
I'm a
Just
fan of that. I'm a
and
fan of
be
it.
okay with that. Just don't judge it, man. Don't judge it. It's like, all right, I'm having a really gross human experience right now, and it's scary. And then sometimes it's like I wish I wasn't the mom in this scenario, right? But this is
Yeah.
just where I am, right? So what a like just like accept the grossness
Yes,
of or like
exactly.
the fear, right? Like accept the fear of like that situation, right? Because that makes you okay with that moment. You don't
Exactly.
love it. You're not like, oh, and you're not like hard on yourself, like, how did I manifest this? You're just like, all right, this is the moment right now. Ugh.
Hmm.
And it sucks.
But you're aware of it. Like, yeah, if I can highlight something, it's just like be aware of it, right?
Yeah, and teach your children to be aware of it. That's what
Yeah, and
like I
talk
tell
it
Leah,
out. Yeah,
this
speak it
sucks.
out loud.
This
Yeah,
is
yeah.
awful. This is awful, and you have every right to be
Mhm.
like upset right now. But look at you smiling still.
Yeah, yeah. And just teaching our kids to like and this is something to practice when you're feeling ill is going inside and being like, okay, like what do I need? Or sometimes if I start like feeling tired or
Mhm.
something, I'll automatically go in and ask my body like, hey body, what do you need? And
Yeah.
sometimes it's like eat 2 clementines and I'm like, all right, and then I do it and then like it just we gotta trust ourselves, right? Because that's how you start getting out of that fear. And then as you're displaying that, what your kids are seeing, right? Just ask your kids, be like, well, go in, like ask your body, go inside your body, like go inside your legs and be like, hey, what do you guys need, right? Or maybe it's to like have a warm blanket on them, right? Like I don't know, but like just teach them to take that action, right?
Yeah. And when they
Because
don't,
your
when they
body
say
knows
they
what it
don't
needs.
know, my
You
daughter
just
says
got to
she doesn't know.
believe that you can talk to your body and ask, and that you'll get that right answer, right?
Yeah.
That'll be
My
intuitive.
my daughter often says, I wanted to add to this just that my daughter often says, like, when I ask her what she needs, she'll say, I don't know. And that's what something I've been doing this past week is going, okay, can you ask your body what it needs? Like,
Mm.
you know,
Mm,
and the first she's really resistant, and that's okay. It's okay if your child's resistant. Like, don't take that as it's not working or it's not going to work, right? Like, you got to keep on doing it consistently for yourself and for them.
mm.
And just keep
Mhm.
Yeah.
asking them and just be like, okay, well, just ask your body what it needs. What do you think? What do you think your body needs? Um, and then what happened was I just kept asking, and she eventually started answering.
Mm.
You know, she'd say
I
a bath.
yeah.
Like, "Oh, okay, great, let's get you a
I
bath."
love that you're saying this because something that kept coming up for me as we were talking, and actually what I wanted to mention earlier that I had forgotten, um, was how this journey from moving from fear to empowerment really is about connecting with our body. That's what it's all about in these illnesses. And remembering that our bodies are amazing and they can heal themselves, and be rather than, as Natalie said, distracting and trying to move away from it, which we're just so programmed to be distracted, or to just take a medication so that we don't feel it anymore, um, rather than listening to what our body needs, which, is just, again, distracting and perpetuating that cycle of illness if we're just pushing it away and ignoring it and not ever learning what our body actually needs in these moments. So I absolutely love that you're doing that with your daughter, Angie. That's so
Mhm.
beautiful and so empowering. Um, yeah, and we
And
set the examples when we're ill ourselves, and then we help our children through that when they're ill, of connecting and listening.
yeah, and I think releasing judgment is really helpful when we do this, when we're present, because I'll tell you an experience I've had through this. I rely on a lot of natural health as well, like Julie, and I do a lot of essential oils, right? And this has been quite a cold that everyone's had, flu, like virus, whatever, right? And so it has required me sometimes to use medication, which I don't like to use. That I'm being pushed to by people outside of me to give that to them, and I've had to
Mm.
really tread in presence of like, okay, there were moments I noticed I gave them medication because it was out of fear. But here's what I want to talk about the judgment is in the moment, in the present moment, when I really started getting present and trusting myself to proceed, and my children to proceed as needed, there were moments where I would ask, myself what I needed, and what I needed was a medication, and I took it.
Mhm.
And I would
Yeah.
take it and I would feel great. And then another moment though would happen and I would be feeling awful and it wouldn't be medication that came up. It would be that I needed to have these 3 oils and then I would use those 3 oils and I would feel great. Do you see what I mean? But we could judge ourselves
Yes.
when we
Yeah.
ask in that moment what I need. Well, you need to have the Buckleys, Angie. And I
Mhm.
could go into judgment right away. Like, well, no, that can't be right because Buckley's is bad. Do you see what I'm saying, guys? So if you are a
Yeah.
person
Yes.
that likes natural health, don't be afraid, like, drop judgment. None of it's wrong. None of it's wrong. It's right in the moment.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, I
How do
love
you
that you're
handle it
saying
in that
that.
moment?
In the moment. That was a big one.
Yeah, that it's so important because there is no one
That is
size
it.
fits all, like I said. And we are unique individuals, and sometimes we will need that medication, and sometimes we will need the essential oils. And like you said, there is no judgment. We
Yeah.
don't need to judge ourselves for this. I mean, I rarely take medication for a headache. I use essential oils, but sometimes I will take that medication and I don't judge myself and I feel better.
Yeah.
Um, this morning when I felt it, it was an essential oil morning and I felt better. you know?
Yeah.
So it's really about listening to what our body needs and wants and doing it in awareness. Knowing that the essential oils are supporting my body at this time, and at other times, you know, the pain medication will be supporting me to get rid of the pain, but I do know there's still something going on. I'm still aware.
Yes.
I'm not just trying to move away from it.
Yes, because you can
Mm.
make the decision out of avoidance, wanting to not feel the discomfort.
Right.
Or you could
Right.
also you can make it conscious as a choice of this is what my body needs right now. That's it.
Ah,
Exactly.
yeah. How do you move
And
through
it's a
that experience, right? That's the question we should be asking ourselves, not what should I do when someone's sick or oh my God, like what am I gonna do right now? Like, how are you moving through that? Because those two responses that I gave are based out of fear, right? One out of presence is okay, like what does my body need? To like lay down on a cold floor? Okay, done.
mm,
I don't, and that I
Yes.
ask myself this all the time, not even just for sickness, just for like anything. And sometimes the answers are like really weird, and I'm like, all right, I'm just doing it because I trust myself, right? I trust that source of where it's coming from. So we really got to start
mhm,
applying this, like, and when we apply it in like those really tough moments, like when we're feeling really crappy, that's where like that real like that's like where our soul like shines out, right?
Yeah.
mhm.
And this is when we're not affected. When we step into this place, guys, this is where we're not affected by, medicine shortages for children. Like this, I'm hearing all
Right.
this stuff like about, you know what I mean, this virus that's going around everywhere. It's like you take your attention away from there and come back
Mm,
here into the moment for yourself and for your children.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how you step out of victimhood, right?
Yes.
It's all just another layer of victimhood.
Yeah.
mm.
Yeah. This is
Well, I hope that
all.
helped, Ange.
This is such a
We
great.
did a
Oh
lot.
man, this was a great conversation. I love it. And I'm sure there's, now we've opened the can of worms, as we would say, right? We've opened it now. So I'm sure this more stuff on this conversation will trickle out eventually. But what a great conversation, guys. What a great awareness to have. And I encourage all of you to really let go of judgment, okay, around illness. Just become aware and get curious. Get curious about how you do make decisions in illness and sickness for yourself, for your children, when other people around you. Notice the discomfort. Notice the discomfort. And I love what you said, Natalie, about making different choices. It's not about just being present with it. Because, yeah, some of you will be like, well, that's fucking great. I feel crappy, right? Yes, exactly. So make new choices. Maybe you've never admitted it before that you feel crappy. Maybe you've spent so much energy trying to avoid feeling crappy that maybe what you do different this time is that you sit there and you go, man, this is crappy. What does my body need right now? Right?
And
And just try
and our
that.
bodies will amaze us with those
Yeah.
answers.
Let your body amaze you. Yes. Yeah, give it space to do that. Ah, any closing words, guys?
Hmm.
That was good for me, man.
Yeah, yeah, it was
Yeah.
fantastic. Just that it's so empowering to connect with our bodies and listen to what our bodies need
Yeah.
in the present moment during sickness and during health. But in sickness, it can be a wonderful way to move away from that fear. And there
Yeah.
are so many amazing, empowering tools. Your body will give you the answer if you take the time to listen.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just a different aspect of conscious awareness, right? Like spiritual awakening, but like use your body. That's why we're in bodies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
They are telling us everything, like Angie had said as well. And looking at the fact that it does come up energetically first, it's an energetic block. There's something there, is very empowering as well to give us a completely new perspective of how to care for ourselves. Um, Not just physically, but also energetically is extremely empowering.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to wrap up because
Yeah,
speaking of
yeah, for
illness,
sure.
I have
Thank you
the
for this
little one
amazing
crying.
conversation.
All right. I love you. I love
Okay.
everyone.
Love you.
Please, if you like the video, please like, share our video, click the notifications so you can tune into these conversations and share with us your experiences and your own observations with your own children and with you. We learn. This is how we learn, by sharing. So I love you guys. Until next episode,
Love
have a
you.
good day. Night.
Love you.